Stop scrolling. In the next few minutes, you will either take the steering wheel of your life or you'll keep handing it to people who don't even know your destination. 3 nights ago, I watched a manager get cornered in a meeting he should have owned. He talked for 12 minutes straight, explaining, apologizing, oversharing while the room quietly decided he wasn't the one in charge. He didn't lose because he lacked talent. He lost because he gave away power with words and wished for respect he hadn't architected. I'm going to show you how to architect it, not with empty bravado, with cold strategy, Machiavellian in clarity, Stoic in control. You'll see why silence bends a room more than noise, why disappointment is intelligence in disguise, why reputation is a weapon sharpened in the first 7 seconds, and the twist most men never learn. The more you try to be liked, the more predictable you become and the easier you are to manage. There is one principle I'll reveal in the middle that flips social pressure into leverage. If you've ever felt talked over, underestimated, or pushed into explaining yourself, don't skip it. Because once you understand how appearance and timing work together, you'll stop performing for approval and start shaping outcomes. By the end, you won't be asking for space. You'll take it quietly. You won't debate critics. You'll make them irrelevant. And you won't rely on permission. You'll move with the steady authority of someone who knows where he's going and doesn't need an escort. This is Stoic focus. We don't do motivation, we do method. Let's begin. 1. Transform your inner self. That is the first law of power. And it is not the kind of transformation people like to advertise on social media. It is not about pretending to be more confident or slapping motivational quotes on your wall. It is about a ruthless reorganization of who is allowed to sit at the head of the table inside your own mind. Right now, 2 versions of you exist, and they have been fighting for dominance since the moment you were old enough to want approval. One is the self that explains, apologizes, and seeks permission. This self is fluent in excuses, desperate to be liked, and terrified of conflict. The other is the self that sets standards, speaks briefly, and treats approval as optional. One is a servant, the other is a strategist. And whichever self you feed, whichever self you give voice to, will quietly determine the entire shape of your life. Think carefully. How many hours have you already lost to explanations? You explained to a boss why you deserved the promotion instead of quietly building a case they could not ignore. You explained to friends why you set a boundary instead of enforcing it with steady presence. You explained to a partner why you were worthy of respect instead of letting your absence speak louder than your begging. All those explanations fed the weaker self, the appeaser, who was trained from childhood to smile, obey, and wait for permission to live. Parents wanted you to be manageable. Teachers wanted you to be predictable. And society wanted you to be docile. It rewarded you for politeness and punished you for defiance. Slowly, a program was installed: keep the peace, avoid the edge, swallow your own standards for the comfort of others. Machiavelli understood that such programming produces citizens who are easy to rule, but incapable of ruling themselves. He wrote that a man who does not master himself will always serve the designs of others, and he was not speaking metaphorically. The inner self that explains away every trespass is not neutral, it is a collaborator with your own captivity. It takes your energy and spends it on keeping other people comfortable. Meanwhile, the self that could command respect, the architect of boundaries and authority, remains underfed, silent, waiting for you to choose it. Philosophy and psychology converge here. In behavioral science, we know reinforcement builds identity. Every time you yield when you should have stood firm, you strengthen the appeaser. Every time you enforce a boundary with clean action, you strengthen the architect. The brain records not just what you did, but who you were being when you did it. Over months and years, the pattern hardens until one self becomes dominant and the other withers. That is why transformation is urgent. You are not negotiating with others, you are negotiating with yourself, deciding whether you will live as a predictable servant or as a man who shapes circumstances by force of presence. So how does one feed the architect and starve the appeaser? It begins with language. Listen carefully to the phrases that escape your mouth. I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. I can try to make it work. Each of these signals to the world that your standards are negotiable. Replace them with concise statements: that doesn't work for me. I understood clearly. I can do X, but Y will need to wait. No explanations. No apologies for existing. A single clean sentence carries more force than a page of excuses. Then comes practice. Each day you will be presented with small moments where the two selves argue for control. Someone interrupts you. The appeaser wants to smile and stay quiet. The architect wants to finish your sentence with calm authority. Someone demands your time. The appeaser wants to promise everything. The architect wants to pause and offer one precise boundary. These are not minor details. They are the battlefield of your transformation. Power is not seized in one dramatic declaration. It is constructed in micro-decisions, brick by brick, until the appeaser starves and the architect reigns. Consider a story. A consultant I knew, let's call him Daniel, was brilliant but invisible. Every meeting he drowned the room in words, explaining why his ideas deserved attention. No one listened, not because his logic was weak, but because his presence was weak. I coached him to adopt a rule: no explanations longer than one sentence. No apologies for speaking. Within weeks, the change was electric. When Daniel cut his words in half, the room doubled its attention. He was the same man with the same mind. But now the architect was speaking. Respect followed, like iron filings to a magnet. There will be resistance. The appeaser self is clever. It whispers, if you change, people will dislike you. You will lose friends. You will be seen as arrogant. It reminds you of past attempts when you tried to stand firm and trembled. But understand this: the voice of the appeaser is not truth. It is a survival program built to keep you in cages designed by others. Let it complain, let it resist, but do not let it rule. The transformation of your inner self is not about cruelty, it is about clarity. When you choose strength over approval, you are not harming others, you are refusing to harm yourself. When you enforce a boundary without apology, you are teaching the world that your time and dignity are real currency. When you stop explaining and start deciding, you step onto the field of power where respect is commanded, not begged. So feed the architect, starve the appeaser. Each day choose one action that favors authority over appeasement. Cancel one unnecessary apology, cut one explanation short, give one firm no without decoration. These are not dramatic gestures, but in aggregate they reconstruct the self. And once that self becomes dominant, your entire life will bend around it. Machiavelli would remind us that fortune bends toward those who shape themselves with discipline and cunning. The world is not waiting for another polite explanation. It is waiting for someone whose presence eliminates the need for explanation at all. Transform your inner self, and you will no longer walk into rooms hoping to be noticed. You will walk into rooms that cannot ignore you. 2. Build the fortress mind that is the second law. And it is not poetic advice, it is survival architecture. Most men stumble through life like cottages made of straw, collapsing at the first strong wind of insult, rejection, or betrayal. They mistake fragility for sensitivity, believing that to feel everything deeply is a sign of authenticity. But power does not belong to the authentic victim. Power belongs to the strategist who feels without being ruled by feeling. The fortress mind is not numbness. It is a system in which emotions are downgraded from rulers to informants, from commanders to data points. Imagine for a moment a fortress carved into rock. Its walls do not prevent storms. They absorb them, redirect them, and remain standing. That is what your inner mind must become. When someone criticizes you, the fragile mind bleeds. The fortress mind registers. This person just revealed envy or ignorance, useful information. When someone disappoints you, the fragile mind crumbles. The fortress mind notes reliability tested under pressure, weakness confirmed. When a plan collapses, the fragile mind declares catastrophe. The fortress mind rewrites stress test complete, new design required. Nothing is taken personally because nothing is about you. It is about patterns, incentives, and the inevitable currents of human nature. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man acts in the present while shaping the future, which means he treats events not as moral tragedies, but as signals. This is where philosophy and psychology converge. Cognitive distortions, catastrophizing, mind reading, all or nothing thinking are cracks in the wall through which enemies slip inside. The fortress mind repairs those cracks. A betrayal is not proof that no one can be trusted. It is a single data point in a larger pattern. A criticism is not evidence of your incompetence. It is a test of whether you hand over authority to an uninformed voice. The man who builds this mental fortress cannot be baited, because he no longer reacts as prey. Consider the difference in a negotiation. A fragile executive hears, "Your numbers are weak," and panics, unleashing slides, explanations, defensive chatter. The fortress executive pauses, scans the room, and replies, "We'll cover numbers in finance. The decision today is expansion versus consolidation. Which do you prefer?" One line, delivered without tremor. The fortress mind recognizes that the criticism is bait, a test of composure. The fragile mind took the bait and surrendered the frame. The fortress mind ignored the bait and kept control of the agenda. Strategy wins where feelings lose. But how do you build such a fortress? You rehearse adversity before it arrives. This is what I call the immunity protocol. Write down 5 predictable blows you might face this quarter. A delayed payment, a public insult, a trusted friend turning unreliable, a sudden market shift, a family conflict. For each, script 3 things. The first neutral sentence you will say, the first 2 actions you will take, and the standard you will refuse to compromise. When the blow lands, you will not react like prey, because your response is already forged. You will move like memory, not panic. The fortress mind also uses the 90-second lag. When rage, shame, or fear surge, do nothing visible for 90 seconds. Breathe. Write 3 bullets: what happened, what it might mean, and what you control next. That small pause denies the enemy their cheapest victory, watching you sabotage yourself. History is littered with men who lost kingdoms, businesses, and reputations not because of grand conspiracies, but because they could not survive 90 seconds of their own emotion. There is a story of a general who received word of betrayal during campaign. His officers expected an explosion, a torrent of rage. Instead, he folded the letter, poured himself wine, and continued outlining the next maneuver. Only later, in private, did he order the traitor's quiet removal. The army saw calm. The enemy never saw him sweat. His mind was a fortress, and his power expanded because soldiers followed steadiness, not volatility. This does not mean you become emotionless. It means you become emotion-proof. You will still feel anger, but instead of striking blindly, you will read it as data someone crossed a line. You will still feel fear, but instead of retreating, you will interpret it as a signal growth lies here. You will still feel pain, but instead of spiraling, you will see it as a revelation. This person's mask has fallen. Emotions become intelligence, not commands. Most men live as open cities undefended, reactive, swayed by every passing influence. They get angry and wreck negotiations. They get scared and abandon opportunity. They get hurt and abandon strategy. That is why they remain average. But the man who builds a fortress mind becomes unshakable. Criticism cannot crack him. Betrayal cannot surprise him. Chaos cannot scatter him. He processes. He adjusts. He endures. Repeat this affirmation not as fluff, but as a reminder of architecture. My mind is a fortress. My thoughts are tools. Once you build it, you are no longer at the mercy of storms. You are the calm center inside the storm, and the world will reorganize around your steadiness. And when others break under pressure, you will be the one still standing, still calculating, still moving. That is the power of the fortress mind. 3. Master the art of silence. That is the third commandment of power, and almost everyone fails at it. The weak cannot keep quiet because silence terrifies them. They fill the air with words, explanations, and nervous laughter. They believe that if they keep talking, they will convince others of their value. But every unnecessary word is a confession. It confesses insecurity, reveals strategy, and gives ammunition to those who would use your tongue against you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to manipulate. Noise makes you legible. Silence makes you dangerous. Look around. In every boardroom, every negotiation, every family dispute, you will notice the same pattern. The loudest voice is rarely the one in control. The true operator, the strategist who shapes outcomes, often speaks least. He allows others to exhaust themselves, to reveal motives, to expose contradictions. While he listens, then, when he does speak, the room goes still. Why? Because silence created gravity, and gravity makes words fall like stone. Psychologists know that humans are uncomfortable with gaps. In a moment of silence, people rush to fill the void, and in that rush, they disclose their intentions. They reveal desperation. They bargain against themselves. They tell you more than they ever planned. Silence is not absence, it is a weaponized space. The man who masters it controls not just the words, but the rhythm of the room itself. Let me give you a story. A client of mine, an executive negotiating a merger, was accused of inflating projections. The other side expected him to defend himself with data, to unleash charts, to scramble. Instead, he sat quietly, held eye contact, and after a pause simply said, "Our numbers are verified. Let's talk about integration." He did not argue. He did not explain. He refused to play defense. And in that silence, the accusers grew uncomfortable. They talked over each other, trying to prove their point. They revealed their own insecurity about valuations. Within an hour, the deal tilted in his favor. Not because he had better numbers, but because he had mastered the silence they could not endure. Machiavelli would call this the art of appearance. To roar like a lion is impressive, but to sit in silence like one is terrifying. The lion does not need to prove it is king, its stillness announces it. In power dynamics, explanation is weakness, justification is surrender, and argument is confession. Silence is not retreat, it is control. But silence is not enough by itself. It must be strategic. If you are silent because you are clueless, you will be dismissed. If you are silent because you are prepared, you will be feared. Preparation gives silence its edge. When you speak rarely and strike cleanly, people assign you authority even before you earn it. So how do you practice this art? Begin with accusations. When someone hurls an unfair charge, your appeaser self wants to defend, to argue, to clear your name. Resist. Say one sentence that is not accurate and stop. The silence that follows will suffocate them. They will overplay, escalate, and reveal desperation. You win not by argument, but by absence of argument. In negotiations, ask one sharp question. What is the smallest concession that closes this today? Then shut your mouth. Wait. The silence will gnaw at them until they answer, often against their own interests. In boundary setting, replace paragraphs with 2 words, not possible, then nothing. Watch how quickly persistence fades when it collides with a wall of silence instead of a door of explanations. There is danger, of course. Silence forces you to live with the discomfort of being misunderstood. People may label you cold, arrogant, or difficult. Good. Those labels come from the weak who fear what they cannot read. Let them guess. Mystery is a currency, and silence mints it. The less they know, the more they imagine, and imagination often inflates your power far beyond reality. Think of leaders in history who built myths without speeches. A general who sat in silence at council made his officers believe he knew more than he did. A king who spoke only when absolutely necessary made his decrees feel like destiny. In contrast, the chatterer, the over-explainer, the man desperate to be understood, always ended diminished. His words became cheap, his presence predictable. Practical drills sharpen this art. In your next conversation, count to 3 before answering any question. That pause alone will change how people listen. In your next meeting, limit yourself to 1 precise statement per topic. Let others argue while you conserve energy. In personal conflict, Say your piece once and then stop. Do not repeat. Do not explain. If they push, your silence becomes the final word. Remember, silence is not emptiness. It is loaded presence. It says, I am not here to entertain you with chatter. I am here to move the board. People project onto you what they fear or admire. They imagine depth, strategy, and menace. They assume you know more than you do, and often, that assumption alone is enough to tilt outcomes in your favor. Silence also protects you from self-destruction. How many men have ruined careers with a careless phrase, destroyed trust with an emotional outburst, or revealed weakness with oversharing words? Once released, cannot be recalled. Silence has no such liability. It preserves your leverage until you decide the moment to strike. So master the art of silence. Speak rarely, listen deeply, and let the gaps do the work. Let others waste energy on words while you conserve energy for decisive action. The man who controls silence controls presence, and the man who controls presence controls perception. And in Machiavelli's world, perception is power. Repeat this quietly, my silence speaks louder than their noise. And understand that once you master it, you will never again need to shout to be heard. The world will lean in to hear you whisper or fear what you might say next if you ever decide to break the silence. 4. Turn setbacks into strength. That is the fourth law. And it is not motivational fluff. It is the hard realism of men who have tasted betrayal, humiliation, and loss yet rise sharper, not softer. Most people collapse when disappointment hits them. They thought loyalty was permanent, promises were sacred, and friendship meant safety. When the mask falls, they panic, replaying conversations, asking, how could they do this to me? That question is useless. Machiavelli reminds us men are ungrateful, changeable, and self-serving. To expect otherwise is not noble, it is naive. The strategist accepts this law of human nature and converts disappointment into data. Think about it. Every betrayal is a map, every setback a lesson, every broken promise a test report. The man who clings to idealism is broken by them. The man who studies them is built by them. When someone lets you down, you have just received a free audit of their character. When a partner turns against you, you have discovered their true threshold under pressure. When a plan collapses, you have uncovered the weakness of your strategy. Pain is not just pain, it is intelligence delivered brutally. Let me tell you a story. A young entrepreneur I once advised built a company with his closest friend. They swore loyalty, shared late nights, dreamed of riches together. Then, when investors circled, the friend began cutting side deals. Emails revealed betrayal. The entrepreneur felt destroyed. He wanted explanations, apologies, closure. I told him, stop looking for morality. Look for mechanics. Your partner just demonstrated that when money and loyalty collide, money wins. That is intelligence. Use it. The entrepreneur replaced his partner with contracts, systems, and redundancy. He lost a friend, but he gained a company no betrayal could collapse again. That is how setbacks turn to strength, not by clinging to fairness, but by designing for reality. The fragile man treats disappointment as proof the world is broken. The strategist treats disappointment as confirmation. The world works exactly as Machiavelli described. People will serve themselves first. Loyalty is conditional, and masks fall when pressure rises. If you build expecting this, you are never caught off guard. You keep backup plans. You diversify alliances. You structure deals so that betrayal hurts them more than it hurts you. You create systems where one person's weakness cannot collapse the whole. This is not cynicism, it is clarity. Cynicism says, trust no one, expect betrayal everywhere. Clarity says, trust with structure, prepare for defection, design for variance. That distinction is the difference between paranoia and power. Paranoia isolates you, power equips you. The fortress mind from part 2 makes you calm when it happens. This principle makes you strategic afterward. There is also a deeper paradox. People rarely disappoint those beneath them. They disappoint upward if you are overlooked, forgotten, or irrelevant. Betrayal does not visit you. Disappointment is the tax on ambition. It is proof you are rising. Proof you have value others want to exploit. Proof you are entering territory where envy and opportunism hunt. So when you are disappointed, do not merely ache, smirk. You have just been promoted to the league where betrayal is currency. Wear it like armor. But what should you do in the moment? The weak confront dramatically, begging for answers, demanding apologies. This hands the betrayer power they get to wound you twice, once by their act and again by watching your reaction. A strategist responds with one of two plays. Sometimes the play is distance quiet, clean removal, no explanation, no drama. You vanish, leaving them to explain your absence to themselves. Other times the play is patience. Observe, note, file away. Then, at the right time, you use their unreliability against them. Either way, you never bleed in public. You let the lesson harden into intelligence. Think of disappointment as tuition. You pay in pain, but you graduate with foresight. You learn who is solid under fire and who is not. You learn which processes break under stress. You learn how to protect yourself from repetition. Tuition is expensive, but the knowledge is permanent. The man who has endured betrayal and built from it is more dangerous than the man who has only known comfort. Comfort builds softness. Disappointment builds precision. There is a saying, the man who survives storms laughs at rain. When you have been disappointed by allies, attacked by friends, sabotaged by partners, and still stand, you stop fearing small slights. You move through the world with an edge others cannot fake. That edge comes not from avoiding setbacks, but from metabolizing them. So turn setbacks into strength. Treat disappointment not as a wound, but as a report card. Study it, store it, design around it. Let others grow bitter. You grow sharper. Let others retreat into mistrust. You expand into strategy. Machiavelli would tell you that fortune belongs to the man who expects human frailty and plans accordingly. Do this, and you will become untouchable, not because you are never betrayed, but because betrayal only makes you stronger. Repeat this quietly. Disappointment is intelligence. Setbacks are fuel, and every scar is a new layer of armor. Once you believe this, nothing can truly break you, because everything that tries only builds you. 5. Silence your critics through results. That is the fifth law. And it is perhaps the most ruthless of all, because it demands you waste nothing on people who cannot be convinced. Most men crumble under criticism. They rush to argue, defend, and justify, thinking that if they explain long enough, they will change the minds of those who doubt them. But the truth is, brutal critics do not seek truth. They seek control. Their words are not questions. They are attacks designed to pin you down. And the moment you argue, you accept their frame, you step into their arena. You admit that their judgment matters. This is weakness. Machiavelli would say, never dignify an enemy's opinion. With your defense, make them irrelevant by building results so undeniable they are forced into silence. Consider this: an architect does not explain the strength of his design with words. He lets the building stand through storms, and when it still towers after the wind has howled, no one debates his skill. Excellence itself is the argument. In life, your critics are like wind. They are loud, sometimes violent, but always passing. If your structure collapses under them, it is not because of their words, but because you failed to build strong enough. When you pour your energy into building instead of arguing, you shift the entire dynamic. The critic becomes background noise, and you become the structure no storm can move. Let me give you a story. Years ago, a writer I knew was mocked by peers for his unconventional style. They laughed, dismissed him, and said he'd never be published. He could have wasted years trying to convince them, sending rebuttals, defending his vision. Instead, he wrote in silence. He published his work himself. It gained an audience. Within 5 years, the same critics who mocked him were copying his techniques. He never argued, he built, and the results turned his enemies into imitators. That is the Machiavellian solution. Do not fight small battles with words, win the war with outcomes. Critics feed on your reaction. They want your attention because attention validates their existence. When you argue with them, you hand them your power. When you excel silently, you starve them. Excellence creates a psychological chokehold because it cannot be debated. A critic can claim you are overrated, but if your business is thriving, your skills respected, your presence undeniable, their words dissolve into envy. And envy, as Machiavelli knew, is respect in disguise. But understand this clearly, results are not just outcomes, they are demonstrations. They are weapons in themselves. Every project you complete, every standard you maintain, every win you secure is a dagger pointed at the throat of doubt. You do not need to boast about it. You simply point to the scoreboard. Critics despise the scoreboard because it leaves no room for narrative. They can argue with your intentions, but they cannot argue with undeniable numbers, visible impact, or consistent victories. Yet this law requires discipline because it is far easier to talk than to build. Talking scratches the itch of ego. Results demand time, patience, and sacrifice. The weak indulge in debates because debates are immediate. The strong ignore debates because results take longer but last forever. When you silence critics through results, you do more than protect your reputation. You build a legacy immune to gossip. Think of a general in battle. His enemies spread rumors that his strategy is flawed. He does not call a press conference. He does not write essays defending his honor. He moves his army with precision, wins the field, and lets the conquered land speak for him. His critics are buried under the weight of reality. That is how you must operate in your own life. Build wins so large that words cannot touch them. Practical application: stop explaining. When accused of incompetence, say, watch. When told you cannot achieve something, nod once and get back to work. When others mock your methods, let them. Your answer will arrive in the form of results they cannot match. Excellence is the most eloquent silence. It says everything without saying anything. And here's the deeper truth: most critics are not truly angry at you. They are angry at themselves. Your effort exposes their laziness. Your discipline humiliates their comfort. Your progress forces them to confront their stagnation. So they lash out. But that lashing is not proof of your weakness. It is evidence of your strength. If you were irrelevant, they would ignore you. The presence of critics proves the presence of movement. So let them talk. Do not waste energy correcting them. Do not waste breath defending yourself. Keep your hands on the work. Keep your eyes on the vision. When the results come, and they will, your silence will thunder louder than any defense. And your critics will choke not on your words, but on their own irrelevance. Machiavelli would remind you that fortune favors the disciplined. And discipline in this case means refusing the bait of petty arguments. Choose instead to craft results so sharp they cut through slander like glass through paper. That is how kings are crowned, how reputations are cemented, and how enemies are silenced. Repeat this in your mind: I silence critics with success, not arguments. Make it your creed, because once you internalize this law, you become immune to gossip, resilient to slander, and untouchable by doubt. The world stops listening to noise when results roar louder, and you will never need to explain again. Your life itself will be the proof. 6. Control your reputation. That is the sixth law of power. And if you ignore it, you are already defeated before you open your mouth. Reputation is not a decoration. It is armor, weapon, and currency. Every person you meet forms an impression within 7 seconds, and that impression determines how much respect you receive, how much influence you hold, and how much resistance you face. Men who leave this to chance are children wandering a battlefield without shields. Men who seize control of those 7 seconds bend the battlefield to themselves. Think carefully about the last time you entered a room of strangers. Did people straighten their posture when you arrived? Did they lower their voices to hear you? Or did they dismiss you as background noise, barely worth acknowledgement? That reaction was not random. It was the projection of your reputation. Long before you spoke, your body, your composure, your silence, your very energy broadcasted a story. If you do not write that story deliberately, others will write it for you, and others rarely write kindly. Machiavelli was clear: men judge more by appearances than by reality. It is not what you do in secret that counts, it is what people see and believe. To ignore this is to fight blind. The prince who controls appearance rules perception, and perception often becomes reality. Do not waste time arguing about fairness. Control what they see. That is your leverage. How is this done? First, understand that your reputation precedes you like a shadow. It is the whisper before you arrive, the rumor passed around, the vibe carried into the room. You must ask, what do people expect when they hear your name? Competence, discipline, chaos, weakness. That expectation frames every interaction. If you fail to shape it, you are forever at the mercy of others' inventions. Consider a story. A manager I once studied was brilliant but constantly undermined. Colleagues called him indecisive because in meetings he explained every thought, revealed every doubt, and softened every decision with apologies. His reality was competence, but his reputation was weakness. Another manager, less skilled but colder in presence, spoke less, stood firm, and never rushed to explain. Within a year, the second commanded authority far beyond his talent. Why? Because his reputation said strong, immovable, decisive. Perception eclipsed reality, and perception won. Control begins with silence. The man who reveals little creates intrigue. The man who speaks less commands attention. The mystery of what you withhold magnifies the weight of what you reveal. This is not superstition, it is psychology. People project depth onto what they cannot easily read. They respect edges they cannot see. Control, therefore, is not about being known, it is about being curated. Next, examine your physical presence. Do you slouch into rooms, eyes darting, gestures nervous, or do you stand with calm stillness, move with intention, and treat every step like a claim of territory? Your body speaks before you ever open your mouth. If your posture broadcasts apology, your words will never rescue you. If your posture broadcasts authority, your words need only be few. Your reputation is also shaped under pressure. When chaos strikes, most men panic, argue, or break. But if you remain calm, collected, and steady, you brand yourself as the anchor. People remember the calm man more than the loud one. In storms, presence is power, and the man who maintains presence under fire controls how others remember him. This extends to consistency. Do not be one man in public and another in private. Reputation collapses when cracks appear. Build a steady identity, the same in success and failure, the same under praise and attack. Machiavelli warned that fortune tests men through sudden reversals. The man whose identity is consistent weathers both glory and disaster. The man who changes shape with every wind is despised as unreliable. Now, where reputation is not simply defense, it is offense. When you need to distance yourself, do it completely. A single decisive cut builds more respect than months of half-hearted explanations. When you make a point, do not make it timidly, make it unforgettable. A single act of ruthless clarity can brand you for years. People respect extremes more than they respect moderation. Do not be remembered as harmless. Be remembered as deliberate. But reputation must rest on competence. Mystery without substance is hollow. The quiet man who cannot deliver is not feared. He is pitied. Therefore, back your presence with skill. Excel at what you do, so that when whispers circulate, they whisper truth aligned with power. Let competence be the foundation and appearance the magnifier. That combination cannot be ignored. Remember this, you do not get to choose whether you have a reputation. You only get to choose whether you control it. Every glance, every gesture, every silence is branding you. Build deliberately or be branded carelessly. Machiavelli's prince knew that authority is not granted, it is staged, projected, and defended through every appearance. So take control. Decide how you want to be remembered in those first 7 seconds and practice until it becomes natural. Let mystery replace chatter. Let posture replace apology. Let calm replace panic. And let consistency replace unpredictability. Then protect it with vigilance. Reputation is slow to build and quick to burn. Guard it like treasure. Repeat this as a creed: I control my reputation. My presence commands respect. Let it guide you into every room, every negotiation, every conflict. For the man who seizes authority in 7 seconds will hold the advantage for 7 years. And in a world where perception often outweighs truth, the one who controls reputation does not just survive, he dominates. 7. Make excellence a discipline. That is the 7th law, and it separates those who occasionally shine from those who cannot be ignored. Most men treat excellence like a performance, something to display when the spotlight is on them, when the promotion is near, or when someone important is watching. They believe reputation is built on rare moments of brilliance. They are wrong. Reputation is built on the invisible moments, the choices you make when nobody sees, the standards you uphold when no one is grading you. Excellence as discipline is not glamorous. It is relentless repetition of small acts until they harden into identity. Think about how soldiers are trained. They are not prepared by practicing victory speeches. They are drilled in small movements until even in darkness, exhaustion, and chaos, their bodies obey without hesitation. The disciplined soldier does not wonder if he will hold the line. He knows he will, because the line is inside him. So it must be with you. Excellence cannot be occasional, it must be ritual. Machiavelli observed that fortune favors the disciplined because fortune tests men at random. If you are disciplined in obscurity, you will be ready when fortune strikes. If you are lazy in obscurity, you will collapse when fortune tests you. Excellence is not a mood, it is a philosophy. The weak wait for motivation. They exercise when they feel inspired, work when they feel energized, study when they feel curious. The disciplined do it regardless. They train their body when it resists, sharpen their mind when it is tired, hold their boundaries when it is inconvenient. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you feed the architect of power inside you. Every time you surrender to comfort, you feed the appeaser who seeks approval and ease. Consider a story. A man I once knew was overlooked for years at his company because he blended in talented, yes, but ordinary in presence. Then he decided to live by a single rule: do the hard task first, every day, without fail. For 1 year, while others delayed, he attacked the toughest problems at dawn. Slowly, a shift occurred. Colleagues began to rely on him for what mattered most. His results stacked quietly until one day, when a leadership crisis erupted, there was only one obvious candidate to trust. He had built excellence in the shadows, and when the storm hit, he was the only one still standing. That is discipline, silent, patient, and ultimately undeniable. Excellence also means rejecting the mediocrity of your environment. Average men love to normalize laziness. They will tell you to relax, to take it easy, to live a little. What they mean is sink to my level so I don't feel exposed. They are not advising you. They are protecting themselves from comparison. Do not listen. Comfort is contagious, and the moment you inhale it, your edge dulls. The disciplined man must sometimes endure the loneliness of being misunderstood, but that loneliness is cheaper than the price of mediocrity. Philosophically, excellence is a mirror of virtue, but stripped of morality. The Stoics believed discipline creates freedom. Machiavelli sharpened that view. Discipline creates leverage. The man who keeps promises to himself becomes unshakable because he knows he can rely on his own word. The man who breaks promises to himself becomes brittle because he fears even his own weakness. Self-trust is the cornerstone of power. Without it, no external respect matters. Excellence is also about standards. Ask yourself, what are your non-negotiables? Do you let deadlines slide? Do you compromise your boundaries under pressure? Do you let emotions dictate your work? Each compromise weakens your foundation. Each kept standard adds a stone to your fortress. Over months, this accumulates into something unbreakable. The man of discipline becomes feared, not because he is cruel, but because he is reliable. And reliability in a chaotic world is terrifying power. Practical application: set 3 daily rituals that reinforce your identity. Wake up at a fixed time regardless of fatigue. Complete one difficult task before noon. Hold one boundary without apology. These 3 actions, repeated relentlessly, rewire your self-concept. You stop being someone who hopes to be excellent. You become someone who is excellent by default. The rituals are not optional, they are sacred, and over time, the world adjusts to them. Understand this: the undisciplined mock discipline because they fear it. They see in you what they failed to become. They may call you obsessive, intense, extreme. Accept these labels. They are evidence you are escaping the gravity of average. When their lives collapse under comfort, they will come seeking your steadiness. By then, your discipline will already have built a fortress they cannot breach. So make excellence a discipline. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for applause. Train in obscurity. Repeat in obscurity. And when the world suddenly turns its gaze toward you, you will already be unshakable. Remember, glory is an accident. Discipline is insurance. Let others chase bursts of brilliance. You will craft daily rituals of strength, and when the test comes, you will not rise to the occasion, you will default to your training. That is the Machiavellian path in visible reps, visible power. Repeat this creed: excellence is my daily ritual. Discipline is my identity. Say it until it becomes real, because once it does, you will not chase respect, it will chase you. And you will not hope for power, you will embody it. The world bends not to the talented, but to the disciplined. And the man who makes excellence a discipline cannot be ignored, replaced, or defeated. 8. Become unstoppable. That is the final law. And it is not about arrogance or bravado. It is about reaching the point where no external force can dictate your direction, where opinions, disappointments, and rejections bounce off you like arrows against stone. Most men are stoppable because they still wait for permission to act, to speak, to rise. They crave validation before they move, and in that craving, they chain themselves. The unstoppable man is different. He has burned the need for approval. He operates with cold independence, not because he is heartless, but because he has built his strength on internal mastery instead of external permission. Think of it this way: every man carries 2 chains. One chain is forged by the opinions of others, the constant obsession with how they are perceived. The other chain is forged by his own fears, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of ridicule. Together, these chains stop him from seizing opportunities, from enforcing boundaries, from commanding presence. To become unstoppable, you must break both. And you break them not in one dramatic gesture, but through years of cultivating discipline, silence, strategy, and resilience. Each of the earlier laws builds the foundation, but this final law fuses them into something untouchable. Machiavelli wrote that he who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. The man who controls his appetites, his fears, and his need for approval cannot be manipulated. He is free from the leverage of others. The crowd can boo, the critic can sneer, the ally can betray, and still he moves forward. Because his compass is internal, his discipline is automatic, and his presence is non-negotiable. This is what it means to be unstoppable, not that the world stops testing you, but that its tests lose power over you. Consider a story. A young lawyer once faced public humiliation in court. Opposing counsel mocked his inexperience. The judge cut him off, and whispers spread that he was finished. Most men would have withdrawn in shame, seeking to rebuild in silence. Instead, he doubled his preparation, sharpened his delivery, and returned case after case until even his enemies grudgingly respected him. He did not ask for permission to rise again. He did not wait for critics to apologize. He acted as though their opinions were irrelevant, and because they were irrelevant, he became unstoppable. This independence is not isolation. The unstoppable man still loves, still builds alliances, still cares, but he is not dependent. He chooses his connections rather than begging for them. He selects allies by strategy, not desperation. He gives loyalty as a calculated investment, not as blind devotion. And because he does not need anyone's approval, His relationships are stronger, they are built on choice, not dependence. That is what makes him dangerous. You cannot bribe, flatter, or shame him into submission. He stands because he chooses to stand, and no external force can move him. But to embody this law, you must also accept a truth. The moment you stop needing permission, people will test you harder. They will press your boundaries, poke your silence, try to trigger old patterns of compliance. They will look for cracks in your armor. This is not evidence of weakness, it is evidence of strength. The world always tests what it cannot control. Expect the tests, anticipate them. Prepare to face them not with panic, but with calm. Each test you endure without bending confirms your unstoppable identity. Philosophically, this is the highest level of power. Stoics would call it inner freedom. Machiavelli would call it virtù, the ability to shape fortune by shaping yourself. When you no longer wait for permission, you begin to shape the world rather than be shaped by it. You set terms instead of accepting them. You create outcomes instead of waiting for them. You stop asking, "Am I allowed?" and start declaring, "I am moving," and the world eventually adjusts. Practical application: remove dependency rituals. Stop seeking feedback on every small action. Stop announcing your goals to everyone, hoping for encouragement. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Decide, move, adjust as you go. The unstoppable man is decisive, and decisiveness terrifies the hesitant. Each act of independence reinforces the identity: I do not need their permission. I do not need their cooperation. I do not need their validation. Repeat this creed until it carves itself into you. I am unbreakable. I am unbending. I am unstoppable. Let it remind you that no critic can freeze you. No betrayal can end you. No setback can silence you. Because the moment you choose independence from permission, you have already won. The world can exhaust itself trying to stop you, but you will keep moving cold, steady, inevitable. And inevitability is the purest form of power. So become unstoppable. Fuse discipline, silence, reputation, and resilience into one weapon: yourself. Let them test you. Let them mock. Let them resist. In time, their noise will fade, and your presence will remain. The man who no longer waits for permission does not just survive, he dominates. And when history writes his story, it will not mention the critics, the doubters, or the obstacles. It will only say he could not be held back. He could not be broken. He could not be stopped. He was unstoppable. You have now seen the 8 laws laid bare. Transform your inner self so the appeaser dies and the architect rises. Build the fortress mind that interprets emotions as data instead of commands. Master the art of silence, letting absence bend the room more than noise ever could. Turn setbacks into strength, treating disappointment as intelligence bought with pain. Silence your critics through results, because outcomes cannot be debated. Control your reputation in the first 7 seconds, shaping perception before truth even speaks. Make excellence a discipline. Rehearse daily in obscurity until it becomes identity. And finally, become unstoppable by severing the need for permission, moving through the world with cold independence and strategic calm. These are not tips. They are weapons. Weapons that cut through manipulation, weakness, and hesitation. You do not beg for respect, you command it. You do not fear betrayal, you expect it and use it. You do not argue with critics, you bury them under results. And you do not wait for permission, you take what is yours. Remember this: the world bends not to those who hope, but to those who prepare. Bend it, claim it, and prove, through presence and discipline, that you are unstoppable.